The whole is greater than its sum of its parts. It's a quote that I'd like to take more and more seriously as I go into the digital art space. As I'm even drawing this pancake, I'm not drawing the pancakes individually, more or less I'm drawing the pancakes as a whole. I'm seeing the pancakes as a shape, as a structure, as an entity, rather than individual pancakes stacking together, if that makes sense. Understanding that these pancakes are stuck together and making this cylinder shape, it makes more clarity to the viewer, or it makes more clarity to the composition as a whole, rather than looking at these pieces of individual pieces of butter, individual pieces of blueberries, individual pieces of pancakes. I'm looking at this as a whole rather than individual pieces, because if you look at it as a whole, it reads as more clear to the viewer and to the audience. When I do draw in Clip Zero paint, I believe I have this tendency to have tunnel vision, to zoom in on specific parts and components of pieces without having a clear understanding of what the composition is actually supposed to depict. It lacks clarity, and when it lacks clarity, your piece looks wonky. An example that I like to bring up is drawing eyes. When you're drawing eyes, I highly doubt it's a good idea to draw eyes individually. I'm not saying it's a bad idea to draw eyes individually, but if you draw eyes individually, you lack structure of what you're trying to look at a whole. Stay with me. When you're drawing eyes individually, when you draw one eye, it's gonna look way more different than you drawing the other eye. It's better to draw two eyes simultaneously or at the same time, because if you draw the eyes at the same time, you're gonna have a more clear understanding of where the eyes are looking at, or where the eyes are staring at, or the overall composition reads more clear, except if you have a great deal of knowledge of anatomy and facial structures. And even on anatomy, it's better to draw, or it's better to study anatomy together rather than individual components. Not saying that studying anatomy and individual components are bad, but it's better to draw or to study anatomy as a whole, rather than drawing, let me study the legs, or let me study the fingers, or let me study the eyes or noses, or how to draw hair. When you're drawing these things in individual components, it does help as a beginner or as an artist in general to grasp a better knowledge on these individual components. But if you don't understand the whole and you're just looking at the individual components, you're only gonna get better at drawing hair, you're only gonna get better at drawing legs, you're only gonna get better at drawing arms, rather than drawing the human body as an entire whole. You're gonna only get better at drawing the individual components rather as the whole, or the bigger picture of what you're drawing, if that makes sense. Even when it comes to the speed paint, I believe I had this tendency to zoom in as well. Not saying zoom in is the end all be all and you're gonna die and it's like a hell. Like, I'm not saying you can't zoom in. I zoom in all the time, and I believe everyone zooms in. It's actually very helpful to zoom in, because sometimes it's very hard to get into those nits and crannies of the details that you're trying to depict, of course. But if you do not zoom out, sometimes your piece might look wonky and wacky, because one part is very detailed and the other is very undetailed, or the other side is very flat and this side is not, or you're so keen on doing the lighting on this part that that lighting on that part doesn't work with the lighting as a whole. When you're so keen and you have this tunnel vision of looking at things in this clear or in this unclear way of looking at it, you have this flawed understanding of what you're drawing. And when your piece lacks clarity, it shows through your composition. But yeah, that's kind of what my rant is about, or what my yap is about the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And it's a quote that I actually like or enjoy more and more as I draw digitally. I don't know where I got this quote from, but it actually helped me a lot while I'm rendering pieces, or even in my older videos. I have not had this tendency to zoom in as much because of this quote of looking at the bigger picture rather than these individual components. But yeah, thank you for watching my video, and I appreciate you guys a lot, and thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.